It's quite a relatively new role throughout the country, and really I see my main role as being the sort of lead midwife who sort of coordinates the care from the woman's first appointment all the way through to her postnatal time. Firstly, I would arrange their first appointments, and then once they're in clinic, it's my responsibility to ensure that they get the appropriate medical care, the appropriate screening tests and scans, and also to be there as their midwife, because they don't have an opportunity to see their community midwife very much. So you're their sort of lead person, you're their advocate really within that high risk environment. You know, going through the process, they come to the antenatal clinic quite often, and then when it gets towards near the end of the pregnancy, we would make a specific plan of their care, and that would be regarding how we're going to manage their blood sugars during the labour and afterwards, and how we're specifically going to care for the baby as well. The main ladies would be ladies who have actually developed diabetes in pregnancy. That's something called gestational diabetes. And this year we're actually going to see about 200 of those, and that's increased about 40% on last year. So that's a big workload for us. But we also see ladies who have diabetes before they get pregnant, and this is called type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And they also need a lot of care, and they would need to come to the clinic quite often because they would need sort of extra screening tests. They would be referred by their community midwife once they've had their glucose tolerance test, or a community midwife might be booking a lady, and obviously in her history she would note that she's got type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and those ladies would be referred to us immediately. Alternatively, I may get a phone call from a GP to refer a lady, or from another specialist clinic. GTT is a glucose tolerance test, and this is a screening test to see if ladies have actually developed gestational diabetes, and this is usually performed about 26 to 28 weeks gestation on the ladies, and we don't screen everybody, but we use certain selective criteria. Some of those would include if you've got any family members who have diabetes. This would be mother, father, brother, sister. If you have come from an ethnic origin, mainly South Asian, if you have a BMI of more than 30, or if you've had gestational diabetes before, that would put you at increased risk of getting it again. Generally, I'm based in the antenatal clinic area. We run about 3 clinics a week at the moment. But I also visit the wards on a daily basis, and I go to delivery suite, and I'm involved in the care planning of the women, make sure everything's going smoothly for them. Occasionally I would go out to the community if it was necessary. I see myself as quite a big resource really. I get a lot of inquiries from community midwives as well as direct referrals. And also, a resource for GPs also. I see myself as a lead person in the role of specialist diabetes midwife, and I would coordinate all the care of the women from when they first book all the way through to the postnatal period. And these women are attending a high-risk clinic, and their care is under the umbrella of the consultant obstetricians. But I see my role as adding a little normality to the situation. These ladies just simply, they are pregnant women and they want to have a baby the same as anybody else. And I think when you have a medical condition, people often see that medical condition before they see the pregnant woman. I would like to sort of normalise things a little bit more, and I would be more involved in the basic midwifery questions about the woman, and I think sometimes it's the language that's used. Sometimes it's quite negative around diabetes. For instance, the doctor may go in and say, you're going to have a scan to make sure the baby's not too big, and I would go in and say, you'll have a scan to make sure the baby's growing normally. I think there's different ways of approaching things to make it a little bit more normal for them. I would get referrals from either community midwives or GPs, or sometimes from other specialist clinics, or sometimes the ladies themselves would call me and say, I'm pregnant again.
This work was produced as part of the Tiger Project and funded by JISC and the HEA in 2011. For further information, see www.northampton.ac.uk/tiger. This work by the Tiger Project is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 3.0 Unported licence, based on a work at tiger.library.dmu.ac.uk. The Tiger Project has sought to ensure content of the materials comply with the CC by NC SA licence. Some material links to third-party sites and may use a different licence. Please check before using. The Tiger Project nor any of its partners endorse these sites and cannot be held responsible for their content. Any logos or trademarks in the resource are exclusive property of their owners, and their appearance is not an endorsement by the Tiger Project.